Hello my people, welcome back to another episode of K-pop Hot Takes. I'm sorry once again, I've been gone for a minute, but this was an important video that finally I feel like I could write and give as much knowledge and info as I can to the best of my abilities. Just a disclaimer, I'm not a trained dancer, but I am a keen observer. I went to performing arts college. Play piano, guitar, I'm a musician, but I've learned a thing or two about dance through my dance friends reactions on my other channel, as well as other dance reaction channels. I've picked up quite a lot, and as a fan of dance, I don't doubt my opinions in this field because I know great dancers when I see them. You don't have to be an expert to speak on a field. As long as you're passionate about it and enjoy it, you can see what you observe, and it's just a subjective thing. The person I'm going to talk about today is the one and only Taemin, known for his extreme attention to detail in dance, his isolations, his fluidity, his clarity, his pops, his locks, how expressive he is, and basically this is my take on his dance evolution in his career from the beginning, the beginning till now. If you see me looking here, I'm looking at the notes basically, and pardon my congestion, I've got like a sinus infection. Oh, you know how life is. But anyway, let's get into it. Debut. Growing up, as far as we know, Taemin had no formal training. He did mention in an interview, however, that his aunt was a ballerina, and at times I wonder if that played a part in the grace that he has in his movements and his fluidity that he developed throughout the years, purely from just watching her dance. Obviously, he didn't go into detail about, if he learned anything from her or not, but he did question inheriting her genes, which I found very interesting, and I do think indirect influences can definitely impact how you are as an artist, for sure. But anyway, growing up, Taemin idolized the performance skill of the legendary, great, fantastic Michael Jackson, whom he called the greatest dancer ever, which clearly shows in his pre-debut and early career dance style. There's a lot of pops and locks, like super clean, fast movements, the MJ tricks. I don't know what that is, but yeah. And also, as a fan, I have a theory that he also studied like the great K-pop dancers, especially Boa. And I say this because he has mentioned that he also loves her as a dancer and thinks she's very talented. But I have no doubt that there's a link there, because the way she moves, there's a particular groove and speed and agility that she has, and a flair which I see in him, and I will think he learnt from her, which could also be in regards to, that could also be the impact of the trainers at SM. But I think there's a link there because not everyone at SM dances like that. Only those two, especially the most, really dance similarly. And you can see that when they danced together, when they did Only One, it was very much like a mirror. There's a synchronicity, and that's why she said Taemin was her favorite to dance with. I think he definitely watched her and admired her growing up, and you can see that flair in him that I see in her. Yeah, in his pre-debut years, it was definitely, the dance talent was there. He was just a dancer from the jump, basically. Because in his audition tapes, you can see him popping and locking and moving. He has a sense of rhythm in his body already, which easily translates to his debut. Shiny, as well as, the early part of the career, as well as his early solo careers. Taemin debuted in 2008 with the mega legendary, trend-setting, groundbreaking, iconic 5-member group Shiny as the main dancer. His dance skill was instantly respected and noticed by the general public, almost like a protege, like, oh my god, that's what I've heard. I wasn't around at the time, but I heard, I wasn't a K-pop fan at the time, but I heard that's what it was like. During the early years, there's definitely like a certain hunger and eagerness to his moves to impress, which is shown in his dancing. And that's very fair, because when you're young, you are exuberant and full of energy, and you want to be as impressive as you can be, which shows in how powerful, quick he is. It's such a joy to watch as well. But you can see that from that to, a few years later, there's been so much refining. He constantly refined himself, because when you are young, you have all these tricks and you have all this energy, but sometimes it can be misplaced. Although saying that he was still a very neat dancer always from the jump, which I think also goes to the training that SHINee as a group received. I do believe they have a particular standard, all 5 of them, although they have different skill sets as dancers. There's a thread of sophistication and gentlemanly refinement to how they dance, which I think is so beautiful. And that's probably why Taemin has always been very well placed. I think the training that they had was perfect for making sure they were as neat and as clean as dancers as they could be. And there's also a strong masculine energy, that's how I'd call it anyway, in these early years. There's not much androgyny or not too much like feminine touches to his movements. It's quite straightforward, quite powerful consistently. The dynamics aren't as drastic. It's very much like hold, dance, hold, like it's very strong and strength focused. You know, which doesn't sort of take away from these other qualities, but I feel like those young years, the priority is to be as powerful and as impressive as you can be. Because also at the time, you know, I think SHINee's choreography was very much groundbreaking at the time, but it was more focused on being intricate, with a bit of sophistication, with a street commercial dance feel, so, and focusing groove and a bit of personality as well. So with that kind of genre, there's a bit more freedom to be just about, you want to give the image of the dance as opposed to super refined, restrained, and like super held back and nuanced per se. The main focus in those years feels like, to me, that was the main focus, as opposed to as he matures, you can see that Taemin's all about body lines and angles and making sure each shape is makes as much sense between every move, which comes with time, but we'll speak about that later. Even during his 2014 debut, with Danger as a soloist, this choreo was very Michael Jackson, smooth but quick, but very flashy. You know, quite a few gestures and like poses, very Michael Jackson influence. Choreo done by the amazingly talented Ian Eastwood. The early Danger era and also the Press It era show a clear distinction before he met Koharu, because Press Your Number was in February 2016, and for me that's not really my favorite Taemin era because it's quite binary, it's quite masculine. The dancing is obviously impressive, but it never really excited me, and I think that's because it is just quite binary and straightforward. But it's clear how much things change as soon as Koharu came, and as soon as Goodbye came, and the Japanese releases, that the style never went back. It stayed, it completely reinvented and changed from how he danced, especially in Drip Drop and Press Your Number, to Move. You can instantly see a change in 2016 from him working with Koharu, and I'll explain why later on, as opposed to how he did a choreo in 2010 or 2011. Take, for example, these 2 clips of Lucifer. Now, as it is another disclaimer, Taemin is a difficult dancer to analyze because he's so in tune with his body, and he's always adjusting choreo over time, making smarter choices. Sometimes he conserves energy, so sometimes performances are more intense than the other. So it's good to always look at as many clips as possible. However, I did find something interesting here. Early live performances of Lucifer, they always had handheld mics, and I don't know why. It's really annoying. But it did seem to hinder the choreo a little bit, but there's still a glaring difference in how he performs in 2010, 2011 till 2016. In the early years, his strong poise, super clean, held. There's no particular alterations to the choreo. There's no added grooves. Nothing. It's straightforward. There's no added grace to it. There's not much added dimensions. Which obviously, when the choreo is new as well, you perform it as it is. And obviously, if you perform it for years on, it can adjust. But not everyone does that. Some people will keep it pretty much the same. But here you will see a massive difference. So in 2016, look at how he adds extra dimensions in the, like, it's very quick. I just did it so over ages. He adds those extra locks, and then on top of that, he then, when the vocals come back, he goes like this and then throws his neck back and goes back, which to me looks very contemporary almost. It's very expressive. And he just extends that neck and just adding extra dimensions to these moves that I don't think he would have done had he not met Koharu, because that performance was in October 2016. He worked with Koharu probably early 2016. So in that time, he would have probably picked up a few things and adjusted his movements to suit that. And I think stuff like that is so beautiful. I just don't think it's a coincidence, because him taking an interest in contemporary modern dance has definitely influenced his dance styles, which showed by the following singles, Goodbye, as well as Flame of Love. And there's so much more care and grace in his details, like here, when he just extends it so much. It's so different compared to how he did it before. So you can clearly see that there's an impact there and something is happening. Speaking of Koharu, her entrance into Taemin's life in the mid-2010s or 2016 marks a significant development in his details and movement quality as a dancer, from my perspective. In preparation for a Japanese EP in 2016, she joined and they worked together on Sayonara Hitori, aka Goodbye, which was Taemin's first foray into modern contemporary dance, to my knowledge, from beginning to an end, like a full piece. Which I commend him for doing, because to challenge yourself shows that you're curious and always want to expand yourself, and I think it helped enlarge his dance vocabulary, as it were, and it shows his passion and love for the art form, and just to constantly want to grow. And to make another thing super clear as well, Taemin's dancing has always been fantastic, with great details, especially for someone that young with no dance training. It's insane how well he can dance, but it's even more insane how much better, or not even better, how much more refined he became. He just aged like fine wine. But anyway, I digress, because the same thing could also be made, the same argument could be made for his younger self, because there's times when his younger self ate him up now. So it shows that it's always been there, but some things just come with maturity. Koharu and Taemin's chemistry is undeniable. They teamed up together for Flame of Love once again. Also, I mean, because Goodbye was so well received, it's still being covered to this day. People are a fan of it. It was a new side to him. His Mama performance 2016, iconic. And he seemed to really enjoy and embrace that side of him. However, the definitive moment of Taemin's career here, Taemin completely subverted expectations about what people thought he would do next. He embraced the androgyny, which early in his career he had issues with, but he gave the world this amazing gift that till now is still revered as such an amazing song, such an iconic time in K-pop history. And it's known to be one of the most complex, challenging choreographies in K-pop. The smooth, tightly controlled motions, which are graceful, smooth, but with, you know, feathery, soft details. Arm and legs are well engaged and well placed, and well held and structured as well. And I think this was his moment of really saying Taemin has arrived, and he did something that no one had done before. He really just smashed the door and said, here I am, I'm doing what I want, this feels real to me. And that's a true artist. That's just more than just being a fantastic performer, dancer. That is true artistry. and this mix of this feminine masculine energy would almost find itself, this is the beginning of what would end up being a prominent feature in his next performances and releases in the future at varying degrees. I'm not a dancer, so I can't really articulate why and how these choreos and these things affected his dancing, but there's a clear development in technique and tricks that he picked up and he refined and that took place in these years. It seems to me that working with Koharu influenced his sense of dynamics for sure, and he took on a less is more appearance, even though what he's doing is still very difficult, just in a more subtle way. Koharu actually also worked with SHINee in 2018 for their title track Good Evening, which also incorporated a contemporary expressive style of dance, and I'm sure this only helped Taemin develop more tools for his solo work. He also participated in the TV program called Why Not the Dancer in the same year, which fascinated me because he mentioned that his passion for dancing was fading, but the challenges of learning hip-hop invigorated him, which goes to show how much he desires growth and developing his style. And you can see him struggle a little bit with getting the choreo and the groove for a hip-hop song, but then he still, once it gets there, he's there and he nails it. By this point, it's clear to see a distinction and a growth in how he's performing now and how he's dancing, and also that comes with time naturally. As you mature and become an adult, same thing with singers or same thing with anyone, you just learn, you smooth things. Experiences and time are the best teachers, and you end up doing things a little bit differently, a little bit smarter, naturally. So now, from now we're at like 2019 till now. Now he's armed with new dance techniques, which I'm sure he's decided to refine and develop. There's even more to enjoy in his performances during these years. The natural maturity that I mentioned has played a part, but most notably as well, in 2019, he returned with Want. His dance style here felt like a perfect combination of the Michael Jackson influence of his early years, mixed with Koharu's sensual contemporary infused moments, as well as SHINee's powerful, intricate, sophisticated commercial styles. It's like all in one. I personally love this style most on Taemin because it allows for dynamics and a range of energy as well. From this point, you can most definitely see a difference in performance style. I love that you can't predict just how great of a dancer he is within the first 30 seconds because he's holding back. And what I love about when Taemin holds back is physically he looks relaxed. He's just moving and then suddenly he'll just perk up, and those dynamics are what for me shows an expressive dancer as opposed to just impressive. There's an intention to build dynamics and to show that it's like, yo, you're gonna underestimate me, and then suddenly boom. And Want is a perfect showcase of that. It starts off so smooth. The choruses have their moments, of course, but they do build per chorus, and then the outro is intense. It's got the crazy footwork, it's got the turns, it picks up in speed. It's stuff like that, which I think that's when you know, okay, this is a mature artist who is thinking about dancing to enhance the song and not just dancing to impress the audience. There's more to performance than that. In an interview with the fantastic Stacey Nam in 2019, Taemin actually spoke of his care for details when dancing and how he's very meticulous about how he gets from point A to point B. That's exactly what he did. Like, he'd be like, what am I placing? I can't even do it, I look stupid. But he's very particular about each move and what purpose does it serve? What purpose does it serve to go from this to this? What is that? And how is he gonna get to those points? And you can truly see that thought process that he goes through his performances, because pause Taemin in a performance with other people, whether in Shiny or Super M or with dancers, pause him or pause the choreo at particular parts, you will notice the shapes he makes more often than not are beautiful, and they look like they're in motion even though they're still. They look beautiful, they look well held, they look well extended, they look relaxed, and it could be the quickest moment in the actual movement of things, but when you pause it, it looks great. I did a thread about this on my Twitter because there's so many pictures and so many moments of absolute beauty and attention to detail to how he's dancing, and it shows that he's practiced so well and honed his craft so impressively. It's almost muscle memory at this point. He doesn't have to think it. His body knows how to deliver the pictures and how he wants them to show, which is just mind-blowing to watch, and hence why I can't get over his performances and his dancing, and I feel like no one else does that. You could argue that his collaborations with Koharu helps develop what was already an innate understanding of his body. I became a fan of Taemin because when Super M debuted, I didn't even know him. He just stood out to me. His power and quickness did not impact his fluidity and smoothness, which blew my mind and always will. Most notable in dropping the footwork in the chorus, as well as the outro for Supercar. His details are just like a pleasure to behold, and the strength he incorporates. And once again, his use of dynamics, which are so refined now. He knows how to build and change and add dynamics, and he's really also very connected to the tip of his fingers, to the tip of his toes, to the last strand of hair on his head. Everything is a full body experience, which I think he's always had from day one, but it has grown and developed throughout the years and become more refined, especially after meeting Koharu, and especially his interest in lyrical hip hop and contemporary and modern dance. Those are the perfect, it's almost like he's built this perfect recipe for just the perfect performance style or dance style, in my opinion. His latest projects before enlistment saw Taemin at his peak, for now. From the pre-release 2 Kids, with his lack of choreo and almost an improv choreo which carried in the song and added, and he thought about this. He wanted it to be a song which felt a choreo that wasn't too choreographed because it would lose the meaning of the song, but he wanted to feel kind of raw and authentic, which I think I felt in the song. It has those contemporary moments with the turns at the end. It's so beautiful and haunting and feels so expressive, and you can see the confidence in his body that he has now as he's grown. There's this thing of assuredness. You can put him anywhere and he's going to just be and he will make it work. He knows his body now, and I can't even describe why that makes sense, but when you look at his movements, you just see it, especially facially. There's definitely a relaxed intensity in his eyes when he performs. You just see that this person knows what they're doing, and they're in complete control, and their body's doing everything they want it to. So for the first title track for his last full album, Criminal, he reunited with Koharu once again, and they threw together a perfectly haunting, almost zombie-like themed choreo, which is still fast-paced with intricate pops and locks and the hand-tied wrist at the start. And Taemin says it's his most difficult choreo to date, and I would happen to agree. I think the levels they go through in the choreo is beautiful. The dynamics it goes through, the pops, the techniques he shows, the cleanliness. I think it's also one of his cleanest and strictest choreographies. It doesn't leave room to groove as much as the other ones. It's very cut, with still his own distinct feeling and style. And you can see in this demo version here and the final version side by side, I made this so you guys could see. You can see the thought processes he goes into when he adapts choreo, and clearly he wanted to adjust some of the moves to make them not as abstract and to make them a bit more commercialized and a bit more mainstream, you could say. And the final version is a lot different to the original demo version, but it still carries a lot of the same feeling and absence and kind of the marionette. Is it marionette? What's it called? The puppet, kind of like a puppet feeling. And you know, I don't know who else had a hand in that. Obviously maybe other choreographers had a hand in it as well, but obviously if it's the final version, then I'm sure Taemin had a hand in knowing what he wanted to achieve as a vision overall, and what aspects of his dancing he wanted to showcase. And then the second title track, Idea, Taemin reunited with Ian Eastwood, which also is great to see that he reunites with choreographers he's worked with in the past before when he was younger, because that means there's chemistry there, and you want people who get you as a performer and you get them as a collaborator, and they bring out the best in each other and bring out the same flares and the same kind of sensuality and mood that he wants to showcase in his work. And you can see that, and he also worked with his favorites like Casper, as well as Keon Madrid and Bailey Sook. And once again, there's a continuation of the smooth, fluid dynamics throughout his body from head to toe. But there's also the footwork is there. But once again, it's just become more refined because the dynamics are there. From the first chorus to the second to the outro, there's a build up. And it's gradual. And it just comes at you and it's like, this is a reward, this is what we're getting. And you always feel like he could do more, which I think is the difference in how he used to perform, and also how he performs as a soloist compared to how he performs in both of the groups, Shiny and Super Rem. Is different, and as a soloist you do have the leeway to be a bit more abstract and a bit more unconventional in how he wants to dance, which I think is why it's so exciting to look at how he has changed as a soloist, especially throughout the years. Because as a soloist you have more connection to wanting to identify yourself as an artist and what you want to show. We also had the amazing VCR of Just Me and You, which was the contemporary lyrical hip-hop, well, that's what he called it anyway, performance piece he did for his song. And this was, I'm not sure who the choreographer was, but I know they're in the video, but this was one of his most daring, mind-blowing things I've seen. The standards, for many people who are professionals, have said it was hard to find flaws. Apart from a couple of things with pointing his toes, it was a greatly performed piece. And that's insane to think of someone who's not performed, who was not classically trained. That is completely mind-blowing that he could showcase and add this emotion and have enough technique to do all these beautiful moves and foot placements, as well as someone who's been ballet or contemporary trained. That's just mind-blowing, and also shows that with maturity you can gain skills that you didn't think you had. Advice came out that was more refined once again, and actually a bit more on the street hip-hop edge, which definitely matched the song's energy, so it makes sense that the choreo was like that. And I don't think he's had a choreo, this felt like the Press It era but in 2021. I think Press It and Advice era could go hand in hand in terms of attitude, a bit more binary once again, a bit more masculine, a bit more hip-hop, a bit more, not hip-hop, but a bit more, yeah, I don't know, something, I can't find the word for it, but you can definitely see that he'd developed it even more. To conclude this video, at the end of the day, it's clear to see that Taemin's always had these traits as a dancer from birth. He was born to move. It was already in him, and it's very clear how innately graceful he is and fluid, even without, you know, most people have years of training to achieve that detail to fingers and hair and feet that he does. So I find it mind-blowing, and I feel like he's a complete anomaly to be able to have such grace and beauty in his dance. And I think the fact that these events influenced his dancing was just mere fate towards his destiny. He's so enjoyable to watch as a dancer and as a performer. I'm so excited to see how his hiatus is going to impact or influence his dancing. Will he be even more passionate and determined? Probably. But I think that's just kind of like scratching the surface of kind of discussing his dance evolution throughout the years, because I mean there's not much to say because he's always been great, so it's just nuanced things that you pick up on. And I hope you enjoyed this video. I enjoyed writing about it, I enjoyed speaking about it. I could talk about Taemin all day. So yeah, let me know what you think of this video, let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.